On this edition of Southern Newsweek, scores of Kiwis recently ditched their loafers, heels or sneakers in favour of gumboots. Dunedin's Town Hall is set to rock this month as the Dunedin Sound gets a classical makeover. And there are still major roadworks around Kaikoura, but tourists are returning to admire the coastal life. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. Scores of Kiwis ditched their loafers, heels or sneakers in favour of gumboots in support of a mental health initiative recently. Mental health charity I Am Hope and its founder Mike King launched the initiative to raise money and awareness for children's mental health.
A good way to warm up on a cold day. Pupils at Kaikorai Valley College in Dunedin taking part in the first ever Gumboot Friday. It's a nationwide initiative from mental health campaigner Mike King, who's hoping the day will raise $2 million.
So basically the idea behind the gumboots is that living with depression is like walking through mud.
All the proceeds are set to go to the mental health charity I Am Hope, and for these students it's extra motivation to do their bit.
A student from the school a while back, he actually committed suicide, and that was obviously really hard on everyone, and I think, ever since then everyone's kind of had a better understanding of like how bad things can get.
Further north in Ashburton, local celebrities and politicians got into the spirit of the day, organising a gumboot throwing contest. The money raised today can only be accessed by mental health professionals who engage in therapy or counselling with children who meet the criteria.
Because not only are we raising awareness about it, we're also fundraising to get counsellors, which is a way of being able to help these students who are struggling.
137 young New Zealanders died by suicide last year, with another 3,500 attempting to take their own lives. King says by donning gumboots today, Kiwis can show people who are struggling they're not alone. In Dunedin, the South today.
Dunedin's Town Hall is set to rock this month as the Dunedin Sound gets a classical makeover. Tally Ho 3 is the third instalment of popular Dunedin songs performed live with the Dunedin Symphony Orchestra and some of the original songwriters.
Settling the score. Principal singers of this month's Tally Ho concert beginning rehearsals today, coming after around a year of preparation for the event's co-founder. Verlaine's frontman and music lecturer Graham Downs says while it's the third time they're performing contemporary songs in an orchestral setting, it'll be pretty rock and roll.
And the new ones that I've attempted were quite challenging for me to orchestrate, and because it gets exponentially harder. 3-minute song, easy. 4-minute song, twice as hard. 6-minute song, 3 times as hard. 8-minute song, 10 times as hard, because you've got to control the structure and the size of it. So it's going to be a pretty strap yourself in listening experience.
Contemporary vocalist Molly Devine has been involved with the project since the beginning and feels blessed to have an even bigger role this year.
So I've got quite a lot of songs to myself, as well as working with the other singers and doing some of the backup vocals. So yeah, I'm just so excited because I got a couple of songs, the first one, couple of songs, and the next one, and this year I just feel like I have a really amazing spread of songs to be working with.
Metatalani Alo is another singer who's been part of the Tally Ho whānau since the beginning, and even though he's part of the team, he admits singing Verlaine's songs in front of Graham Downs is a bit nerve-wracking.
Very scary, very scary. Since the beginning, especially Tally Ho 2, we picked up Death and the Maiden, and also Death and the Maiden, and with this one, James Jimmy News and Timmy. I'm really nervous, especially with Graham being there, but at the same time it's a good challenge because it really helps me to step outside of my comfort zone as an artist.
As today's rehearsals progressed, the trio were joined by opera singer Annalise and conductor Peter Adams.
We start rehearsing with the orchestra on Wednesday, and then it's all go on Saturday.
And from today's beginnings in the safety of Black Sail House at the University of Otago, rehearsals are set to move to Hanover Hall, where the Dunedin Symphony Orchestra and all the feature singers will make sure they're pitch perfect by showtime. In Dunedin, the South today.
Tourists are enjoying Kaikoura as life continues to return to normal following the earthquake which hit the area in 2016. There are still traffic delays as massive earthworks continue, but that's not dampening the enjoyment of tourists.
Driftwood among the growing weeds, marking where the old high tide line used to be before the Kaikoura earthquake of November 2016. The massive uplift of land saw the destruction of parts of State Highway 1 along the Kaikoura coastline. Thanks to the efforts of road crews, the scenic route has been reopened, and tourists such as Bernie Coleman are now coming back.
It's really a beautiful area. The thing that's ruining it at the moment is a lot of the roadworks, but I can understand that because of the damage that has been done by previous earthquakes. Once the roadworks are finished, this is going to be an absolutely magnificent area.
The seal colony at Ohua Point was a popular stopping area before the earthquake, but the area bore the brunt of the destruction. Despite the current roadworks, the seals seem to be thriving.
We've come up to this area to do the whale watch, but it's been because of 3 metre swells out of the bay. That's been actually cancelled. So we took a drive up here to have a look up here, and we found the seal colony. And it's been absolutely magnificent up here.
Travellers along the highway are still experiencing significant delays due to roadworks, which are expected to be completed by the end of the year. In Kaikoura, the South Today.
Armed police patrolled a citizenship ceremony at Queenstown's Memorial Centre to provide safety and assurance for 77 new citizens. Armed police have never manned a citizenship ceremony in the district before, but the local council decided to do so on advice from the Department of Internal Affairs following the shootings at 2 mosques in Christchurch last month.
Officers on foot and in cars stationed in Memorial Street and Templeton Way in Queenstown yesterday. Another officer at the back of the venue at the recreation ground ahead of a citizenship ceremony. The increased security a necessity in the wake of last month's Christchurch terror attack.
It is a sign of the times, I'd have to say. I mean, normally you'd be a police presence. It's obviously accentuated by the weaponry, but just a sign of the times.
Police presence at future citizenship ceremonies is likely to continue on the advice of the Department of Internal Affairs and local police. But inside the Memorial Centre were much warmer scenes, with 77 new citizens singing the national anthem for the first time as New Zealanders. He says he noticed the police officers standing close by, but their presence hasn't dimmed his enthusiasm about becoming a New Zealander.
Oh, it's very awesome. I'm waiting for this for 10 years. Since I started the new life here, I always thought when this day is going to come up. Yeah, today I'm very happy.
McLeod says the diversity of nationalities represented at the ceremony is part of the changing face of New Zealand.
It's part of who we are. It's Kiwi's DNA. It's being welcoming, it's being tolerant, accepting other cultures, other ways of doing things. It's fantastic.
Further south, the Dunedin City Council has decided to use security staff at its citizenship ceremonies, but they won't be armed. In Queenstown, the South Today.
After the break on this edition of Southern Newsweek, we take a look around an e-scooter warehouse in Dunedin. And the South Otago Town and Country Club hosts a timber sports demonstration where the chips were anywhere but down. Welcome back. Lime Scooters are confident they're back on track after a braking issue resulted in the company voluntarily recalling the e-scooters last month. They've agreed to a set of safety conditions with the Dunedin City Council and insist safety is their #1 priority.
Day and night, 7 days a week, Lime's Anzac Avenue headquarters is a hive of activity. Before being dispatched onto the city's streets for users to commute to work or take an apprehensive joyride, all 600 of the company's e-scooters pass through the warehouse.
In the mornings we've got about 100 to 150 scooters, depending on how busy it was the night before, how many low batteries we had, how much usage they had. So we'll try and get all of those out. We try and have the warehouse clear at about sort of 7:15 in the morning.
Issues such as broken displays or worn-out wheels are dealt to by a team of mechanics, while operational specialists collect and drop off the e-scooters throughout the day. Alice says the company now employs about 20 staff in Dunedin, most full-time, as well as about 100 juicers or independent contractors who collect and charge scooters for a fee.
We have a rolling rotation of scooters, so if a scooter's got to its end of the life, it'll come back here. We'll take the parts off that we can use and recycle the rest.
A sudden breaking resulted in the company voluntarily recalling the e-scooters from the city last month and agreeing to a set of safety conditions with the Dunedin City Council. Each week, every scooter goes through a 10-step checklist before it's allowed back on the streets.
So we normally dispatch them between 5:30am and 7am, and then during that time, all of our juicers are putting them out on the street at the same time. And then through the day, we have a shift of mechanics who fix our scooters during the day.
A survey conducted by the council earlier this year found nearly 60% of respondents were supportive of e-scooter use in Dunedin, with 28% unsupportive. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The chips were flying as the South Otago Town and Country Club hosted a timber sports demonstration recently. Current and future woodcutting champions showcased their talents as spectators dined and relaxed in the sun.
Current South Island underhand champion Brad Parko showing his power and skill at a timber sports demonstration at the South Otago Town and Country Club over the weekend.
Just a few local axemen from around Southland Otago come here today just to sort of showcase what we do in the sport and sort of try to keep it alive a bit.
He says it's a good opportunity to demonstrate their abilities and help keep the sport alive in rural communities.
Sort of dwindled over the years with a lot of things changing and a lot of small, towns sort of. A lot of people leaving out of the big cities and that has sort of died down a lot. But I mean, the AMP shows it's at now, and still are now, it's still one of the most popular events to watch. I mean, it is an art in itself, really.
But he says it's become a very expensive sport to undertake, with competition axes costing in excess of $800 and a lot of travelling to various shows.
The amount of money I've put into it compared to the amount I've taken out of it, I'll never ever break even. You've got to really love the sport to be able to do it.
Town and Country Club manager Jude McNabb says she's delighted 8 of the best wood choppers from Otago and Southland made the effort to showcase their skills.
There's a lot of talent out there and you don't see it very often out in the public eye, and we've opened it up for the community to come along today and view it and be inspired by these guys that do such a great job and compete around the world.
As for Parko, he's set to compete for a place on the New Zealand under-25 national team, which will be travelling to the World Timber Sport Champs in Prague in November. In Balclutha, the South Today.
The Takaka Hill Road rebuild program is well underway, with work continuing through the year. The first stage of the repairs are almost complete, with the second stage of the project requiring more extensive work.
Traffic queuing up for roadworks on the highway over Takaka Hill near Nelson, a little over a year after Cyclone Gita unleashed her fury on the northern South Island, causing a major slip and closing off the only road access to Golden Bay. Eyesight manager Jasmine Polglace says the community coped well with the unexpected isolation.
So it was quite scary when Gita happened. There's a lot of panicking around the hill being closed. They got it open really, really quickly. And tourism and tourist operators and general public were very well informed.
Stranded visitors were able to leave Golden Bay on either aircraft or tour boats.
But we do have other avenues to get them out via Tochanui with the aqua taxis and sea shuttles down there. So we managed to get everyone out that needed to get out in a hurry. Also with the planes, we could still use the runway.
The road over Takaka Hill is famous for its hairpin bends, but despite the added delays caused by roadworks, reducing several kilometres of the road to one lane, she says the tourists are coming back in droves.
Yes, it's been a really good season for us, probably a bumper season. We've had fantastic weather, so we've had a lot of people enjoying Golden Bay.
Regular visitor to Pohara Beach, Duncan Fraser, says he's not too fazed by the extra delays on the road.
It's fine. There's a few cars and motorbikes in front, but we've got a family, 2 kids. It's easy enough getting across. They go to sleep, so at the end of the day, it is what it is.
It's expected both lanes won't be open over the entire Takaka Hill until 2020. In Takaka, the South Today.
Alexandra welcomed schools from across the region last weekend at the Uru Uru Whenua Schools Kapahaka Festival. The event was coordinated by their Central Otago Rural Education Activities Program.
Coming together for a celebration of Māori culture under the blue sky and sunshine of central Otago. Schools from across the region making their way to Alexandra for the Ururu Whenua Schools Kapahaka Festival.
Ranfurly, Maniatota area schools here, and then from Mount Aspiring College, Wanaka Primary School, and then Cromwell, Alexandra, and the smaller schools in between.
The event was organised by the Central Otago Rural Education Activities Program. It's held every 2 years at Molyneux Park Stadium.
I mean, you can't find a car park. It's like a massive rugby games on in Alexandra today, but it's the Kapahaka Festival, so it's a fantastic feel to it. And the kids just look so excited to be coming along and sharing their skills.
The schools take part in Kapahaka and Waiata learning throughout the year, building up to the performance.
They're all fantastic. You see that with the little ones, the 5-year-olds, right up to the high school kids, and they just seem to enjoy it so much. It's really fantastic. A great day out. And look at the sunshine in Central Otago today.
The event's now in its 12th year, and organisers say it continues to go from strength to strength in Alexandra, the South today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, we meet a Dunedin textile upcycler who arranged a meeting of like-minded artisans, and a flotilla of electric vehicles visited Dunedin recently, proving the city's reputation as New Zealand's leading EV city. So stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. A group of Southern clothing upcyclers is set to converge in Dunedin later this month. Convener Kirsten Koch, who called the hui for a couple of reasons, to chat with her fellow practitioners and as part of her sociology studies.
Recycling textiles and dyeing with natural materials. Just a couple of the tools in the arsenal of Dunedin artist and sociology student Kirsten Koch, who's organised a gathering of like-minded textile artists.
And it features 7 participants, 7 local designers who use upcycled clothing material to create awesome clothing, new clothing. And they'll be speaking and showing their work with kind of interactive displays and talks.
Surrounded by some of the dried plants she uses to dye fabric, Koch says she's been passionate about environmental issues literally all of her life, as it's the way she was raised.
Well, I was brought up to be environmentally aware, living kind of a sustainable lifestyle where we made our own things and kind of had our own food, and I think there was great things I learnt there that can be applied to other people's lives to help them kind of maybe make a transition to a more sustainable life, but also it's really enjoyable, like it's not a loss of anything, it's actually quite creative and liberating to be able to make things for yourself.
She says the fashion and textile industries have major problems with environmental practices, a lack of sustainability and poor employment practices. She says upcycling is another step towards fashion sustainability.
You've kind of got reduce, reuse, recycle. So upcycle is the added on bonus, which for clothing and fashion that means you're not just making do and putting up with kind of broken and old clothes, you're actually seeing the potential in these amazing fabrics and pieces and thinking of something that will really, make them shine.
Koch says New Zealand's fashion industry isn't immune to global issues affecting the industry, including country of origin labelling.
And say for New Zealand fashion design, a lot of people buy them because they like the aesthetics, but also because they're made in New Zealand. But what we're finding now is that they're not actually made in New Zealand. It's less than 10% of the item that's made in New Zealand. It could just be the label and things. So, and also the fabrics aren't very nice anymore too, that they're making them out of. So that changes your attitude towards their making. But perhaps they're pressured to do that to be able to compete on a global market.
The Clothing Upcycling Seminar is scheduled for April 24th in the Otago Pioneer Women's Hall in Dunedin, the South today.
A new study shows Dunedin is leading the way for electric vehicle ownership in New Zealand. Research carried out by Otago University and the Dunedin City Council reveals the number of electric cars in Dunedin increased dramatically in the last few years.
The Great EV Road Trip arriving in Dunedin today on their nationwide tour promoting the benefits of electric vehicles. Dunedin EV Group spokesperson Paul Jones says this year the trip is about bringing the cars to smaller towns around New Zealand.
So this is the 5th Leading the Charge road trip. It's all electric cars driving all around New Zealand just to prove that you can. You know, most people think electric cars are just city cars, and that is just not true. There are now over 100 fast chargers all around New Zealand, which means that even in an entry-level electric car, you can basically drive anywhere you want.
Their visit coincides with a new study from Otago University, which reveals Dunedin is leading the charge for electric vehicle ownership in New Zealand. The number of electric cars in Dunedin has accelerated from just 25 to 500 in the last 4 years. And Jones says EVs are going from strength to strength every year.
They're basically big computers on wheels. They constantly get software updates to improve, fine-tune the cars. And you know, in terms of the emissions, it's 0 emissions from the car. There's a few emissions from the grid, but that's just getting better and better over time. It's the only car you can get that's going to get greener the more you drive it.
Dunedin also took out the top spot for the highest proportion of electric vehicles for personal use, as opposed to commercial or other purposes. Jones says they're a good option if you want to reduce your own carbon footprint.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are better for the planet than normal cars, and certainly if you want to save the planet, this is what you should do. But honestly, even if you don't care about that, the numbers make sense. You save money driving electric, you have more fun driving electric. So yeah, it's great that we're saving the planet, but it really depends what you're into. There are so many reasons to get into an electric car, and they're all good.
The roadshow is on its way to Oamaru, Geraldine and Tekapo before making its way to the North Island. In Dunedin, The South Today.
Pupils from Mount Aspiring School were treated recently to an energetic acrobatic performance by Australia's Dislocate Theatre last week. The show, called 3-Speed Crunchbox, is part of Wanaka's Festival of Colour.
Australia's Dislocate Theatre entertaining students at Mount Aspiring College as part of Wanaka's Festival of Colour. Performer Sharon Granert says the show features stunts and circus tricks, but with an environmental twist.
We have a lot of fun, we do slapsticks, acrobatics, but we're trying to promote sustainability and have a few kind of fun messages in the show. The show's not so much about how to do it, it's just to kind of inspire people that you can still have fun while trying to make, you know, the world better and the environment better and be more sustainable.
Students were able to learn some tricks for themselves at a workshop run after the performance, learning juggling and slapstick.
They're all watching those fail videos on YouTube, so we want to teach them that it's actually not about hurting people, it's about, you know, tricking them, and, you know, it's almost like a form of magic, and how to do that in a safe kind of fun way, and also a little bit of acrobatics as well.
It's the troupe's first trip to New Zealand.
And, you know, it's gorgeous flying into Queenstown, and all the people are just so lovely, so that kind of makes it, I guess.
And by the sounds of it, won't be their last. In Wanaka, The South Today.
The National Air Carrier flew into Dunedin recently, handing out giveaways as part of a nationwide competition. Around 500 people lined up from early morning, hoping to win the major prize, a trip to Rarotonga.
Be careful what you don't wish for, as you might just get it. Dunedin woman Nicole Robson was the first to arrive at an Air New Zealand promotion, arriving 4 hours before the event. She knew what she wanted to win.
I was coming to win some plane tickets to go on an adventure, hopefully to Rarotonga, because that's the best one in there apparently.
And Robson says she did some research on how to get to the main prize, or at least to potentially beat the system.
I have severely YouTubed how to win this game. It appears that every trick, hack, cheat, I'm really good at cheating games, to this has been covered in these rules of things you can't do.
Contestants were grilled on the competition's rules before going into the booth. Robson's partner Josh also keen on the Rarotonga trip, but his luck was as good as hers.
So where would you say a bad prize would be? The $10 iTunes voucher.
Sile was the third person taking part. She arrived at 10:30 and was also the third to enter the booth. She was also more keen on flights than iTunes vouchers.
Hopefully somewhere out of New Zealand, like Rarotonga. So confident, but yeah. No.
But proving things can happen in threes, she too received a $10 iTunes voucher.
iTunes voucher.
Each contestant had 30 seconds to try and grab a small golden piece of tinsel from amongst a host of green ones as they flew around the booth. The last stop for the touring promotion is Invercargill tomorrow. In Dunedin, The South Today.
That's all for this edition of Southern News Week. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great evening. Ka kite anō.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.